expertise matters, but really who wants it the most is the one that's going to come out on top.
Interesting. Well, I wish that we lived in the same area, my friend. I'd like to shake your hand and talk with you. All I can do is send you a token of my gratitude for your calling the program, which is a copy of my book, which is the greatest battle of my life, called Government Zero. This is not a book. This is a mission. This book is a battle. Every word in that book is a fighting word. You know, they say fighting words. There's not a word in Government Zero that isn't a fighting word. It's amazing. The book is all about fighting against this incredible insanity of liberalism. I say, that's too broad a brush. All right, so it's too broad a brush. Fine. Fine, it's too broad a brush. You're happy with your government? I'm not. That's all. WMAL, Ruben, thank you for calling. Make your point. I'd appreciate it. What's on your mind?
Dr. Savage, I listen to your show every day when I come home from work. I'm calling from D.C., so I'm in the thick of it here. And we're talking about possibilities of NIH and things like that. And something that you said struck me when you're talking about the grants that are given and the ridiculousness of some of the grants. But then you said you wouldn't support grants or give out grants based on race, gender, sexuality, maybe some other things. And I guess I kind of want to know what you mean by not giving it based on gender, because of the physiological differences according to gender. And
I don't mean that I wouldn't have research studying women or people of different races. I think that's fascinating. I'm very interested in ethnomedicine. It was one of my subspecialties. What I meant was I wouldn't give a grant to an individual just because they're a woman or just because they're a member of a certain race. That would not qualify them for a grant, is what I was saying. You get what I'm saying now?
I do now, and that's what I was.
In other words, let's say there are equal number of applicants. They wouldn't be graded whether they're black or white or a woman or a transsexual or whatever. The science itself would be the winner. Whoever has the best proposal. I would rather it be blind. I'd rather the applicants not even put their name on the application. That's how I would like to see science applications submitted to peer reviews. I'd like to see no names. I'd like to see numbers assigned to them. So we're not giving them based upon a color coding or a gender coding. And that's why I could clean up HHS and NIH. I hope that answers your question, Ruben. Look, it's all a pipe dream. First, what's his name? Donald has to win. Then he has to decide whether he wants to take an outsider like me and put me in charge of HHS or NIH. Then I have to decide whether I want to give up the media and writing books and do that and go in to become a government, personality. I don't know that I have the personality to work in a bureaucracy, to be honest with you. So it's all a pipe dream. And I'm thinking out loud, and I'm doing it for a reason, which is to help you understand that the corruption of this government, which didn't start with Obama, by the way, it started a long time ago, is now so endemic that a house cleaning is in order in every government division and department. That's really all I'm saying. And I could certainly do a great job. It's a question of whether I would want to and whether he would be interested in me. It's that simple. But I want to go back to the Trump candidacy. It's very important you know that the latest poll from Quinnipiac shows that the younger people detest Hillary Clinton. They have run away from her. They don't like her. She's not popular with them, even if they're girls. She doesn't own them. See, this is part of the problem, is she speaks in a way that has such an arrogance to it that it turns the young people off. What she's saying is, I'm a woman, therefore be a stupid girl and vote for me. I'm a woman, be a stupid minority and vote for me because I'm not a white male. Anyone with an independent mind of any race or sexual orientation is not going to go for that. And that's the card she's playing, and it's turning against her. I personally think that Trump will get the nomination, and I believe that in the final showdown he will crush her, because she has a horrendous track record as Secretary of State. She has so many skeletons in her closet that they're bound to come out in any debate. And the fact of the matter is he's the only one who would dare to do it. So I do think there's a high likelihood that if he maintains the stamina he currently has, he will be the next president of the United States. I truly believe that. And I came to that conclusion after his interview on this program yesterday, which I would invite you to try to listen to. I don't know if it's been MP3'd on my site, but it's definitely around somewhere. It was a new high for me in the fact that he and I had a chemistry that I don't hear with anyone else. He has an ability with everyone, every show he goes on, to relate to them in their own way. But he and I have a certain unique quality with each other that I think came through on the airwaves, and many people have sent me emails to that effect. Now, the good news today, and never forget it, is that the House voted a couple hours ago against the threat of a veto by the thin smoker in the White House. They didn't take the bait. They weren't afraid of him. They didn't run away. 16 Democrats joined most Republicans in saying we're going to increase scrutiny on immigrants from Iraq and Syria. Okay, now it goes to the Senate. Now, that's anyone's guess what will happen in that corrupt body of Whigs, W-H-I-G-S, Whigs. Yeah, okay, well, we'll have to see. Maybe they'll surprise us as well and show some common sense, although I doubt it. The Senate is a wholly different organization because they're more immune to the people themselves, and they do things for their own reasons. And unfortunately, those reasons are often in conflict with common sense and with the will of the people. That's the reality of the Senate. We'll have to wait and see. But never forget this. The vote in the U.S. House a couple hours ago to increase the scrutiny of these refugees is now veto-proof in the House. This is a very big deal to see so many Democrats jumping away from Obama and joining Republicans in this commonsensical maneuver. They made common sense, so they walked across the aisle. Now, how could you argue with that as a liberal? You can't. You understand that? This is a very, very good thing because the world has finally been awakened to terrorism, with the exception of the few on drugs or on the doxies of liberalism that is so endemic in their DNA that they can't even think any longer. I'm going to pay attention to what a group of old women on The View say. I'm going to pay attention to what an actor or an actress says in the middle of a drunken orgy. They're going to get up and give an opinion on it, tell me that they're like tourists. I care what some slut from Hollywood thinks about the refugee situation of Paris. Why don't you just ask Charlie Sheen what he thinks about it? Maybe you can catch him in between one of his orgies, and then he can be held and be invited to the White House. It's the Savage Nation. Be here or be nowhere, and be sure to read Government Zero.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Your Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust for tangible assets, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICO. A dance of death in the West. Hollande says ISIS threatens the whole world and needs to be annihilated. If you want to see what they look like, take a look at the faces of evil from the London Express. Take a look at their faces and then look around your neighborhood and ask yourself if you need more faces like those in your neighborhood or those like these subhumans that were caught on the raid. By the way, the Muslim bomber was a big pothead, according to his ex-wife. He sat in his apartment and smoked dope all day long. Now, something on that I want to mention, that I've mentioned over the years that nobody seems to remember in the media. You know the word assassin, of course. You know where the word assassin derives from? Do you know what hashish and assassin have in common? Did you know that most assassins in the Middle East did use and continue to use hashish before involving themselves in these subhuman events where they become dehumanized themselves from the hashish? Did you know that marijuana and hashish dehumanize you? Which is why Harvey Weinstein, Katzenberg, Matzenberg, Ratzenberg, and others continue to show marijuana as a healthy herb for you to use? Do you understand that marijuana dehumanizes you? Do you understand that the word hashish and assassin derive from the same root word? Do you understand that assassins to this day still smoke dope before going out on one of their sick missions? Think about that the next time you think you're just having a J, because you're not just having a J, you're killing your soul. Black Eye for Black Lives hate mongers. Did you see that story? Did you see their hashtag, F Paris? Because the babies, the crybabies in the Black Lives Matter movement were upset that the world was paying attention to real victims. Next story from the New York Post on the Savage Nation. Are you ready for this one? The death of the West, Charlie Cleen. After his HIV diagnosis, Charlie Cleen spent $1.6 million on hookers. Now you know why he had such a hit on television. Now you know why the media extols these people, because they're one and the same. Muslim congressman defends Muslim Syrian refugees' First Amendment rights, even though they're not citizens, just as we expected from a Muslim congressman. Representative Keith Ellison defends the Muslim Syrian refugees, saying they have First Amendment rights. How could they have rights if they're not here yet? Well, the answer is, as you well know, when you are a co-religionist, you put your religion ahead of your nation. Asked about his reaction to proposals from lawmakers such as Republican presidential candidate Senator Ted Cruz to block Muslim Syrian refugees as a precaution against allowing Islamic State terrorists into the country, Ellison said that he had a simple response. I say Congress shall make no law establishing a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, the Minnesota Muslim Democrat said on More Snotty Nonsense by Chicks. So he used one of our laws as a Trojan horse to bring more of them in. Now, of course, most of them won't be suicide bombers or terrorists. We know that. But let me ask you good liberals a question. What if only a small percentage of them turn out to be such? Would you then say that the person responsible for the deaths that result should be arrested? See, I think Ellison should sign a paper that says, I guarantee that none of these Muslim refugees will wind up committing terrorism in America. And if they do, I'll take personal responsibility for it. I'll put up my house, I'll put up my car, I'll put up anything else I own as collateral against such future damage in a fund for any Americans harmed by any of these wonderful, wonderful fellow travelers of mine, or shall I say co-religionists of mine. And I think the same should apply to any one of the other bleeding heart liberals who want the Muslims from Syria to come in here. Put up a piece of collateral and put it into a national fund that shall be used for those victims should they occur. How's that for an idea? I think it's a fine idea. Give me your tired, your poor, and your bomb maker. That should be the new inscription on Obama's Statue of Disliberty. Give me your tired, your poor, and your bomb maker. That should be a new plaque attached to the Statue of Disliberty, erected somewhere in Washington, D.C. Remember, Government Zero warned you about this. No borders, no language, no culture. Read all about President Zero's plans.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
Islam is not our adversary. Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Now, we know Hillary Clinton is a serial liar. We know that she's a liar and has been a liar from the day she appeared on the national stage. But now she is aiding and abetting the enemy. The fact is truth, even if she doesn't accept it, even if Obama's head is in the sand, or God knows where it is, even if the entire liberal media is deluding themselves into thinking there's no war by radical Islam against all people on earth, Muslims included, who do not see the world through their 7th century eyes. Apparently the idiot named Hillary Clinton didn't know about the Fort Hood massacre by Nidal Hasan, the Muslim psychiatrist. Apparently the idiot Hillary Clinton didn't remember that the Boston Marathon bombing was conducted by the Tsarnaev brothers. By the way, in those two cases, Nidal Hasan and Tsarnaev, they were not Christians, they were not Hindus, they were not Buddhists, they were not Jews. They did it for jihad. They yelled Allah Akbar or whatever. July 2015, 4 U.S. Marines shot dead by a lone Islamic gunman on U.S. Navy facilities in Chattanooga. May 2015, in Garland, Texas, Pamela Geller, along with her group, hosted a Draw Muhammad event. Elton Simpson and Nadir Soufi of Phoenix went to avenge the Prophet. They traveled to Texas, where they were shot and killed by a security guard after opening fire in an attempt to kill her. September 25th, 2014, Alton Nolan is accused of beheading a woman in Moore, Oklahoma. Co-workers reported that Nolan had been trying to convert them to Islam. Nolan reportedly used some Arabic terms during his attack. Nolan told the judge, I'm Muslim. My question is, do you have any Muslims that can represent me as a Muslim, Mrs. Clinton? April 27, 2014, 30-year-old Muslim man Ali Muhammad Brown is accused of shooting to death 2 men in Seattle. According to reports, he told police the killings were vengeance for U.S. actions in the Mideast. March 6, 2014, registered sex offender James Cosby, 46, accused of bludgeoning his lesbian daughter to death and shooting a lover in Port Bolivar, Texas. He then dumped the bodies near a ferry gate. In his bedroom, Cosby had the Quran open to a page that says homosexuality is a sin.